Hello. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Daughters of Hadassah. My name is Gail. Today, I want to talk about Miss Jezebel, your girl. I don't want to talk about the Jezebel spirit, even though the Jezebel spirit is rampant and running around like crazy in our world right now. Seems to be in control of everything. I want to talk about Jezebel, the person. Jezebel was the daughter of Ishbel, who was a high priest and a king, and they were Phoenicians in their homeland. Jezebel picked up bad habits from her parents, her daddy. Her daddy actually slaughtered his brother because he wanted to rule the kingdom. So he was ready to rule it now, and not right now, but right now. So he killed his brother in order to rule and become king. Jezebel, just like her daddy, controlling, manipulative, murderous. She picked up the bad habits and never got a chance to repent and say, Daddy, you was wrong. Because she was so focused on being devious and evil and following in her father's footsteps. But is Jezebel at fault for the way that she was? Or were her parents at fault for the way that they raised her? Because really all Jezebel knew was what was taught to her. She was taught to be manipulative by her parents' actions, by what she saw her father do. Just like in the world today, our children, they suffer from the things that we teach them consciously and unconsciously. We teach them to be evil. We teach them to hate. We teach them to be violent. We teach them that they are victims. Instead of us teaching them to do better, to want better, to live in unity and harmony. So much hate going on in the world. Jezebel's father showed her she's a product of what he made her. And she came into being queen, which is believed that it was arranged marriage between Jezebel's father to marry Ahab so that his daughter could be queen, because she was a queen already, a princess or whatever. And she became queen by marrying Ahab. But when Jezebel came in, she didn't take the queen role. She took on the manipulating role of controlling the king. And she really became king over the king, because she ran the shot. She told them who they're going to worship as God. The Jewish people, Israelites, were worshiping Jehovah, Yahweh, all their lives. And then here comes Jezebel with a whole new religion, a whole new God, and forced the people to worship who she wanted them to worship. Controlling, manipulative, had 400 priests. She brought in her own stuff. Manipulative, had her own agenda, married to a great leader, a king, and came in and took over. And this is just the way the world, a lot of people work in the world. They want to be with somebody in leadership, with somebody in power, so that they can manipulate them, so that they can control them, so that they can make them a puppet to do what they want them to do. And then whenever the person in leadership has a pity party, you have Jezebel there to sweep up and clean up. Like Ahab, when he couldn't get Nabal's vineyard. He comes in the house pouting and crying and go to bed laying down, and Jezebel had to ask him, what's wrong with you? Only to find out he pouting over because he can't have somebody's vineyard. And what does Jezebel do? She murdered. She slaughtered. She took it by force, because that's what her daddy had taught her to do. Now, I'm not saying that Jezebel was an angel in any of this, because when she came into contact with Yahweh, when she married Ahab, there was a choice for her to find out who the true and living God was, who the real God was, that her daddy was wrong, that the way that she was doing things was wrong, but she chose to control and take over and do things her own way and step over the king, on top of the king, and run the kingdom into her queendom. Because she ran things. She instilled fear. She was a dictator. She instilled fear in the hearts of the people, so much so that they didn't know whether to continue to worship in Yahweh or would they worship Baal. They were afraid not to worship Baal because that was Jezebel's God. And who she said they had to worship, that's who the people feared and were feared into worshiping. So Jezebel was controlling because of her upbringing. But it doesn't mean that she didn't have a choice to change, but she chose not to. She chose to follow the way of her father. She chose to hate. She chose to be manipulative. She chose to control. She chose to take it by force. She chose to kill and slaughter. She chose to do all the damage that she did. Tore, divided the kingdom. And Ahab, the leader, the king, who should have been running the kingdom, who should have been in control, who should have been doing what he needed to do as king, because he was in position to raise up, to tell her no, to make her bow down to his God. He didn't do that. And everything was out of control. She wasn't qualified to run the kingdom, but she ran it the way that she saw her father run the kingdom. And therefore, we had division and hate. And everything that went on then is going on now. Jezebel running rampant. Jezebel doing her own thing, controlling things the way that she wants to control things. Through men, through people, through hatred. Being manipulative. Thinking that her God is greater than the one and only true and living God. Refusing to love, bring harmony and unity. Everything she touched brought destruction. So much so that when Elijah went to confront her and to let Ahab know that there will be no rain for 3 years, Jezebel had a hissy fit. Elijah went up against Jezebel's prophets and slew them. And Jezebel had a hissy fit. She put out a hit on the prophet Elijah. Because that's what she knew how to do. You mess with me, I'm going to kill you. Innocent people, it didn't matter who it was. Anybody got in her way, they were getting slaughtered. Anytime she couldn't get her way, it was a death threat and they were getting slaughtered. The hatred from her God, not the one and only true and living God. And though Elijah ran from Jezebel because there was so much going on at one time, fear was in the land because she was manipulative, controlling, throwing out death sentences. People were being killed. Elijah ran, just like many of the Christians today don't know what to do because there's so much fear, so many threats, so much going on by this Jezebel spirit running roughshod in our country, in our world. But God always gets the final lick. All that Jezebel did, Jezebel ends up being betrayed by her people, her soldiers. They threw her out the window. Her blood was licked up by dogs. The only thing that was left, I think it was her head and her hands left. Jezebel was killed violently. But that chick put on some lipstick, put on her queenly garments, and said, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die like a queen. And when they threw her out the window, she was dressed fully. So well, the evil, the wicked of this world may be dressed up and look appropriately dressed, but the battle is not ours. It belongs to the Lord. And when vengeance comes, it's going to come viciously and maybe even violently. Because our God will not be mocked. No one is greater than the God that we serve. So just like Jezebel was defeated, so will this Jezebel spirit, this Jezebel power, this Jezebel manipulation and fear tactics that's going around today. Jezebel's daddy was wrong. Ask yourself, is your mama and your daddy wrong about the things that they taught you, the upbringing that you learned? Are you hating instead of loving? Are you causing division instead of unity and harmony? This is Daughters of Hadassah. That's my talk on Jezebel. Feel free to like and subscribe to my channel. And if you think I left anything out, please leave it in the comments. Have a blessed and prosperous day.